Hi, thanks for watching. Okay, I want to update my opinion on the Trump rally shooting from 1 week ago. That was July 13th of 2024. I think we can all agree that Mr. Crooks should never have been allowed to get on that roof. Okay, so there was already a problem just with him even getting on the roof. But even then, okay, it does appear that the counter snipers had him in sight and knew there was a problem. So now the question is, why the hesitation? And there was a period of about 7 seconds, not 11 seconds like it's been reported.
What happened?
If you actually look at the video and count the seconds, it's about 7 seconds from the moment that Mr. Crooks started firing, at the crowd, first at Trump and then at the crowd, and the time at which one of the counter snipers actually killed Mr. Crooks. Okay, if Secret Service had not hesitated, he would have been shot before he even had a chance to even issue one shot on the president or on the crowd. Okay, I want to update my opinion just a little bit. Okay, I still maintain that the main cause of this incident, apart from the crazy 20-year-old, okay, the main cause of this incident, I think, was a breakdown in administrative competence. Okay, and we can argue if there are political motives in the air that might make it malicious incompetence. Okay, and that's all explained in my last video. Okay, but in this video, I kind of want to refine a little bit that issue of the sloped roof of the building that had the line of sight to take a shot at Donald Trump and the crowd. Okay, as we know, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle explained, okay, that because the building had a sloped roof, okay, that basically there was a safety issue and they didn't want to have agents on top.
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
Okay, now that part will turn out to be not the real problem. Okay, the real problem is the second comment that Kimberly Cheatle made, which was that they would have to cover the building from the inside. Okay, that's going to be the problem, not the part about the roof. Okay, because actually I listened to an interview involving a real Secret Service counter sniper or a former counter sniper. It sounded pretty credible. And he basically explained that it would have actually been more dangerous and more troublesome for him as a counter sniper to have to manage people being on roofs of other buildings. So for the counter snipers, it's actually easier if you actually clear the rooftops everywhere.
The one thing I think that could have been a game changer in this whole thing, and I see a lot of critiques out there. There should have been somebody on that rooftop or something like that. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. If I'm working as a counter sniper and I'm in a position where I can see everything that sees my protectee, and I've got a whole bunch of people on a whole bunch of different rooftops, I don't want that. That's more stuff I got to look at, right? Every time I see something moving and everything else, it's getting my attention, especially if I see somebody on a rooftop with a gun. Now I've got to verify, is that actually us? Is that somebody else? What's going on here, right? I don't want anybody on any rooftop if I could do it. I want to prevent access to that rooftop. I want to make sure it's clear the entire time the visit is taking place.
So the real problem is not so much whether you have somebody on top of open rooftops. Okay. The real problem is whether you actually secure the buildings. Okay. And so this is where we get the incompetence. Okay. And remember, there's two parts to what Kimberly Cheatle said. One part was whether you'd have somebody up on the roof. Okay. But the second part was that the idea they could clear a building from the inside. Okay, from the inside. And that's, I think, where you get into that bureaucratic mindset where you're just departed from common sense. You're so stuck up into your bureaucratic wonky thinking that what works out on paper somehow seems realistic, but you've lost your common sense because you're too bureaucratized in your thinking. Okay, somebody who has real tactical common sense would understand that you don't secure a building from the inside. You have to secure the building from the outside.
A local tactical sniper inside a neighboring building spotted him from a second-floor window and snapped this picture. Crooks then pulled out a rangefinder and the sniper alerted his team.
Okay, so we can see that there was some effect from having agents on the inside looking out where they could, let's say, spot somebody like Thomas Crooks, right? But the problem is all they were doing was spotting. And I think that's how the counter snipers actually got the information on their headsets. And that's why they started really training their weapons in that direction, right? Because they got information probably from somebody who was on the inside and probably also from police who noticed that the crowd was noticing this guy on the roof. But it looks like some actual agent actually saw him get on the roof. Okay, but what good does that do? Because you're just monitoring you need to have people on the ground controlling from the outside, not just spotting from the inside.
So what really happened here, and what I think would have prevented this entire thing from even becoming an issue from the get-go, we would have had this individual into custody, and Corey would have his whole family, would have him actually at home at dinner tonight. And I think what really failed here is it was not mitigated the way it should have been. I believe an agent and two local police officers posted in that parking lot or right there, being told very specifically, hey, I need you to make sure that this building is secure and nobody gets on this rooftop.
Okay, and then the final problem is still that big question, why the hesitation? Why did the counter snipers hesitate when they did appear to have some kind of visual contact? Why did they hesitate in actually killing Thomas Crooks? Okay, what was that hesitation? All right, now maybe it is true. Okay, maybe it is true that part of the hesitation, all right, part of the hesitation was some question, knowing that that building was supposed to be secure. Okay, maybe there was some hesitation that maybe that's a friendly person on the roof in the end. Maybe there's some confusion, but in the end, it's really somebody associated with the police department, right? So the idea is that because we trust that building and we believe that building is secure, and we've been led to believe the building is secure, there's going to be some hesitation. Maybe that person is a police officer.
Sources within the Secret Service tell us that the working theory right now is that the Secret Service sniper did not initially shoot the gunman because the thought was it was possibly a police officer. And that's why it took several seconds for the sniper to shoot the gunman. That's why the gunman was able to fire off some shots.
I believe that still may be a factor, okay? But now it's turning out that there's another factor, okay? The other factor is that because of the sloped roof and because Mr. Crooks positioned himself on the backside of the slope, okay, the counter snipers, they could see him, but they could only see little parts of him. They could just see little parts of his head and little parts of the scope of his rifle.
Brian Yennis now reporting that a Secret Service counter sniper took the shot that killed the gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, saying that he could only see Crooks' scope and the top of his eye and forehead because of the slant of the roof. Yennis saying it was all described to him as a, quote, 1 in a million shot.
So in the end, it turns out that even for that other sniper team that was on the farther roof, okay, that had to spin around their guns to actually get a longer range shot because they didn't have the tree blocking, right? So even those snipers actually could get a line of sight on Crooks. Okay, it looks like for them it was a very difficult shot where they really couldn't really see his head completely. So there was a big risk that they could shoot at him and maybe just shoot like the top of his skull, or maybe not get that direct kill shot. So while there still may have been some confusion about who he was before he started shooting, that may well be true. Okay, before he started shooting, there may have been some concern he was a police officer. I believe that. But once he did start shooting, okay, any real delay in getting off a shot to kill Mr. Crooks, probably was partly because of the extreme difficulty of the shot. So we can't underestimate that. All right. And we also have to assume that even if they decided to kill him before he started shooting, right, because of that difficulty of the shot, okay, that there's a good chance they could have missed and Mr. Crooks still could have gotten some shots off. Okay. So this was a very dangerous situation, and it would not have been solved by the counter snipers taking an early shot necessarily, because there's a good chance that early shot could have missed, or that, maybe they couldn't even really see him very well because of his position. Okay. So what that leads me to believe is, again, Kimberly Cheatle and all her bureaucratic thinking and her bureaucratic mindset, and maybe a lack of common sense, right? So go back to the earlier video. That part I still stand by. But as far as like the detailed logistics of really what went wrong, it's not a question, I don't think, of getting agents on the top of that roof. Okay. I think the question is the idea that you could secure that building from the inside of buildings. Okay. And apparently they did have some law enforcement snipers in the adjacent building, but also on the inside. So I think where the real breakdown occurred, and I think where a Secret Service has to really be held to account, is why they didn't secure the building from the outside to carefully secure the building from the outside and just make sure that nobody could get near the building or let alone get on the roof. So I think in the end, we're going to find, I think this is going to be it. I think we're going to find that yes, it was administrative malpractice or administrative incompetence. It might even be on some level political malicious incompetence. Okay, but the real issue is not having a very effective plan, whether in coordination with local law enforcement or just getting more Secret Service people and maybe even other Homeland Security officers. If there weren't enough Secret Service officers, to just make sure that building was completely surrounded and knowing how dangerous that building was. Now, that's the other thing. This building was a very dangerous building because it had a direct line of sight to the crowd and to Donald Trump.
It's danger close, and then it has a line of sight. And I can't see the backside of this building. I need you to be my eyes and ears right here to watch that.
So just knowing how dangerous this building was, just doing everything possible, even if it meant bringing in Homeland Security officers, and if they didn't have enough Secret Service, right? But just to make sure to surround that building, not from the inside, but from the outside, to make sure that nobody could get close to it, let alone climb on top of the roof. So, the rest of my opinions in the last video, I still stand by, but I just wanted to correct that one little part that, the solution was not to get people on the roof, because that would have actually complicated the job for the counter snipers. The real issue was not letting anybody possibly get near the building so that nobody could possibly get on the roof. So that's just the little clarification I want to make. And appreciate your patience. And, if you want to check out the last video, I explain a little more detail, kind of the logistics of the shooting. But appreciate your patience, and thanks for watching.